Madagascar. The island where nature rewrote the rules of evolution. What would happen if a piece of Africa suddenly vanished from the map of the world and then drifted alone across the ocean for nearly 90 million years? Would it still resemble the rest of Earth? Or would it become something entirely different? There is one place that gives us the answer. A land where trees appear to grow upside down into the sky. Where primates move with strange sideways leaps as if performing a dance choreographed by evolution itself. And where thousands of species exist nowhere else on Earth, as though they were created under a completely different set of natural laws. This is not an ordinary island. This is Madagascar, one of the most isolated places ever to exist on our planet. While dinosaurs disappeared, continents shifted, ice ages came and went, Madagascar quietly evolved along its own path. Its isolation, stretching across tens of millions of years, transformed it into a real-life lost world. A vast evolutionary laboratory where nature had enough time to experiment, adapt, and create some of the strangest forms of life ever known. Today, more than 90% of the island's plants and animals are found nowhere else on Earth. A level of endemism so extraordinary that few places on the planet can compare. Yet Madagascar's uniqueness is not defined solely by its rare wildlife. It is something you feel the moment you arrive. A sensation that you have stepped beyond the familiar world and entered another chapter of Earth's natural history. A chapter where evolution followed its own course, unrestricted by the rules that shaped life elsewhere. Throughout this journey, we will walk among thousand-year-old baobab giants, explore ancient canyons, highlands, and arid landscapes whose origins stretch back to the age of supercontinents, and encounter creatures that evolved in isolation for millions of years, becoming some of the most remarkable life forms on the planet. This is more than a journey through Madagascar. It is a voyage back in time, a glimpse into an alternate version of Earth. A world where nature was free to rewrite the very rules of life itself.
The baobabs,
An
scrappy
island
branches,
born from
suddenly
isolation.
begin to put out a first flush.
To understand why Madagascar is so extraordinary, we must travel back to a time when dinosaurs still ruled the Earth. Around 88 million years ago, as the continents continued their slow and relentless movement, a massive landmass broke away from Africa and began drifting alone across the Indian Ocean. What seemed like a simple geological event would ultimately create one of the most remarkable natural experiments in Earth's history. From that moment on, Madagascar became largely isolated from the rest of the world. While animals across Africa, Asia, and other continents continued to migrate, compete, and evolve together, Madagascar was cut off from that shared evolutionary journey. It was as if a giant laboratory had been sealed shut for tens of millions of years. There were no lions ruling the grasslands, no giant elephants roaming through vast forests, no large primates dominating the landscape as they did on mainland Africa. Instead, nature was forced to find entirely new solutions, and it was that isolation that made the miracle possible. Today, scientists often describe Madagascar as an evolutionary time capsule. More than 90% of the island's plant and animal species exist nowhere else on Earth. It is one of the highest rates of endemism ever recorded on the planet. Over millions of years, every drought, every season of relentless rain, every global climate shift quietly shaped life on this island. The species that adapted survived. Those that could not disappeared. The result was a land filled with creatures so unusual that many seem as though they belong in a work of imagination rather than the natural world. Seen from space today, Madagascar feels less like an island and more like a forgotten miniature continent adrift in the ocean. Its eastern coast is covered by dense tropical rainforests, nourished by moisture-laden winds from the sea. Its central region rises into vast highlands that stretch more than 1,000 meters above sea level.
One of Earth's
Farther south,
wildest
the landscape
creations.
transforms into a harsh, semi-arid world where bizarre plants have evolved to survive some of the island's most unforgiving conditions. Meanwhile, thousands of kilometers of coastline support some of the richest marine ecosystems in the Indian Ocean. What makes Madagascar truly remarkable is that all of these vastly different worlds coexist on a single island. And this is only the beginning of the story. Because the deeper you travel into Madagascar, the more you realize that it is far more than a travel destination. It is a living testament to the power of time, the force of isolation, and nature's almost limitless capacity for innovation and creation. The Avenue of the Baobabs, giants standing guard over time. If there is one place that represents Madagascar in the minds of travelers around the world, it is the Avenue of the Baobabs. Yet no photograph can truly prepare you for the feeling of standing before them in person. From a distance, these enormous trees rise above the horizon like the pillars of an ancient civilization that vanished long ago. There are no dense forests surrounding them. No towering mountain ranges in the background, only colossal trunks standing silently across a sun-scorched landscape of red earth, alone, majestic, and deeply mysterious. For generations, local people have called the baobab the tree of life. It is a title well-deserved. In the dry climate of western Madagascar, water is more precious than almost anything else. And over millions of years, baobabs evolved into nature's own giant reservoirs. A single tree can store tens of thousands of liters of water during the rainy season, allowing it to survive through months of drought. Its thick bark protects it from extreme temperatures.
It's a tree
Its
like
vast
no
root
other.
system stretches deep
The
and
legendary
wide,
baobab,
silently gathering every
with
trace
its
of
massive
moisture
trunk
hidden beneath
and
the soil.
branches that look
That is why many of these trees have survived not just for centuries, but for well over 1,000 years. Look closely, and you will notice that these giants are far from perfect. Their rough bark is marked with scars left by storms, lightning strikes, and countless dry seasons. Each crack tells a story that spans generations. When empires rose and fell across the world, when trade routes appeared and disappeared, when early explorers had never even heard the name Madagascar. These baobabs were already standing here, quietly watching time pass. What makes them even more extraordinary is that Madagascar is home to 6 of the world's 8 known baobab species. In other words, this island is the most important center of baobab evolution on Earth. Some individuals grow so large that several adults linking hands together would still struggle to encircle the trunk. Standing beneath them, it is impossible not to feel small. Yet behind their beauty lies a story of loss. Today, the Avenue of the Baobabs is celebrated as one of Madagascar's greatest natural wonders. But thousands of years ago, these trees did not stand alone in an open landscape. They were part of a vast tropical forest that once covered much of western Madagascar. That ancient ecosystem was home to countless endemic plants and animals. Over time, as people cleared land for agriculture and settlement, much of the original forest disappeared. The baobabs survived largely because local communities regarded them as sacred. They were protected when much of the surrounding forest was not. In that sense, the Avenue of the Baobabs is more than a beautiful destination. It is the last living memory of a vanished world, a natural museum preserved beneath the open sky, a reminder of what once existed across this remarkable island. Yet Madagascar is famous for far more than its ancient baobabs. The island is also home to one of the most extraordinary groups of animals on the planet, lemurs. Remarkably, more than 100 species and subspecies of lemurs are found only in Madagascar. Nowhere else on Earth do they exist in the wild. From tiny species weighing only a few dozen grams to larger lemurs with enormous eyes and haunting calls that echo through the forests. Each possesses its own unique character. They are the result of tens of millions of years of evolution in isolation on this island, separated from the mainland. And it is these remarkable creatures that have helped make Madagascar one of the world's most important biodiversity hotspots. Now, let's meet the island's most famous residents, the captivating lemurs of Madagascar. If the baobabs are the silent guardians of Madagascar, then lemurs are the soul of the island. They appear in paintings, folklore, postage stamps, and in nearly every story told about Madagascar. Yet what fascinates scientists is not merely their charming appearance. It is the extraordinary evolutionary journey that created creatures unlike any other primates on Earth. Around 50 to 60 million years ago, the ancestors of lemurs are believed to have accidentally reached Madagascar by drifting across the ocean on large mats of vegetation swept out to sea during powerful storms. It may sound unbelievable, yet it remains one of the most widely accepted scientific explanations for how these animals arrived on an island located hundreds of kilometers from the African mainland. When they reached Madagascar, they entered a world with almost no competition. No monkeys, no chimpanzees, no baboons, no large predators commonly found across Africa. that is when something remarkable began to happen. Over the next tens of millions of years, lemurs evolved in countless different directions. Some adapted to life high in the forest canopy. Others thrived in the dry forests of the south. Some became active during the day, while many others emerged only after darkness fell. Today, Madagascar is home to more than 100 species and subspecies of lemurs. Each one represents a unique chapter in the island's evolutionary story. But the world of lemurs is even stranger than it first appears. Some species are so tiny that they can fit comfortably in the palm of your hand. Others possess enormous eyes, perfectly adapted for seeing through the darkness of night. And in the distant past, Madagascar was home to giant lemurs weighing more than 150 kilograms, nearly the size of a modern gorilla. These giants once dominated the island's forests for thousands of years before disappearing after humans arrived on Madagascar. It is these extraordinary creatures that have helped make Madagascar one of the most biologically important places on Earth. Yet Madagascar's wonders do not end with its forests and the remarkable species that inhabit them. Surrounding the island are more than 5,000 kilometers of coastline, where the Indian Ocean creates an entirely different world. A world of vibrant coral reefs bursting with color. Schools of tropical fish moving like living clouds beneath the surface. And giant marine creatures, from humpback whales to whale sharks, that appear seasonally in the deep blue waters surrounding the island. This thriving marine environment is another reason why Madagascar is considered one of the most extraordinary biodiversity hotspots on the planet. The world beneath the blue waters. If Madagascar's forests and highlands tell a story of isolation on land, then the ocean tells an entirely different story. A story of connection. Of powerful ocean currents, transoceanic migrations, and life that has continued to evolve for millions of years. Seen from above, Madagascar appears like a miniature continent floating in the endless blue of the Indian Ocean. Along its western and northern coastlines, coral reefs stretch for hundreds of kilometers, forming one of Africa's richest marine ecosystems. Scientists often compare them to vast underwater cities, places where thousands of species coexist within a delicate balance that has taken centuries to develop. Every square meter of coral contains a miniature world of its own. Schools of brightly colored tropical fish weave through rocky crevices. Ancient sea turtles glide slowly through coral gardens. While farther offshore, dolphins and whale sharks appear seasonally, creating some of the most spectacular wildlife encounters in the tropical ocean. But for the people of Madagascar, the sea is more than a natural wonder. The sea is life. Along thousands of kilometers of coastline, generations of local communities have built their lives around the ocean. Before the first light of dawn reaches the horizon, traditional wooden boats with their distinctive triangular sails begin leaving shore, silently moving across the water beneath crimson sunrises, carrying with them the hope of a successful day at sea. In many coastal villages, life continues much as it has for centuries. The men head out to fish. Children play along the sandy beaches, while women mend fishing nets or dry fish beneath the tropical sun. The ocean provides more than food. It shapes culture, traditions, and the identity of Madagascar's coastal communities. Far beyond the shoreline, small islands emerge from turquoise waters. Some remain almost untouched. There are no towering hotels, no crowded resort complexes, only endless white sand beaches, palm trees bending in the sea breeze, and pristine ecosystems that have existed long before humans first arrived. Yet the most remarkable inhabitants of Madagascar's waters do not live here permanently. Every year, as winter settles across Antarctica, one of nature's greatest journeys begins. Thousands of humpback whales leave the icy waters of the far south. They travel more than 8,000 kilometers across the Indian Ocean to reach the warm seas surrounding Madagascar. It is one of the longest migrations in the animal kingdom. A journey repeated across countless generations. In these calm waters, mothers give birth. Young calves take their very first swims, while males sing mysterious songs that can continue for hours. Their voices travel for dozens of kilometers beneath the surface, like ancient symphonies echoing through the ocean for millions of years. To marine biologists, Madagascar is far more than an island. It is a crossroads of worlds. A place where ocean currents from across the Indian Ocean converge, where species from distant waters meet, and where people and nature continue to share a relationship that has endured for generations. As the sun sinks beneath the horizon and fishing boats slowly return to shore, Madagascar reveals yet another side of its character. No longer merely a land of strange forests and extraordinary wildlife, but an island where people and nature are still writing a story that began nearly 90 million years ago. A story that, even today, has not yet reached its final chapter. After traveling thousands of kilometers across ancient forests, windswept highlands, thousand-year-old baobab avenues, and the deep blue waters of the Indian Ocean, our journey through Madagascar is finally drawing to a close. But perhaps what makes this island so extraordinary is not any single place we have visited. Not the towering baobab trees, not the razor-sharp stone forests of Chingy, nor even the lemurs that exist nowhere else on Earth. What truly makes Madagascar unique is the story it tells. A story that began nearly 90 million years ago, when a fragment of Africa broke away and drifted alone into the vast ocean. That isolation might have seemed like a disadvantage. Yet it became one of nature's greatest miracles. While the rest of the world evolved along familiar paths, Madagascar quietly followed its own. A world where trees took on strange and unexpected forms, where animals evolved in ways no one could have imagined. And where people have maintained a deep connection with nature across countless generations. Today, Madagascar is recognized as one of the most valuable biological treasures on Earth, but it is also a fragile world. Many ancient forests have disappeared. Numerous endemic species now face the threat of extinction. Ecosystems that took millions of years to develop are confronting challenges unlike any they have faced before. Perhaps that is why Madagascar is more than a place to admire. It is a reminder of the value of uniqueness itself. A reminder that in an increasingly connected and uniform world, there are still places capable of inspiring genuine wonder. Places that prove nature remains far more creative than anything humanity could ever imagine. And as the sun slowly sinks beyond the horizon of the Indian Ocean, the shadows of the baobabs stretch across the red earth once again. The lemurs return to their forests. Fishing boats quietly make their way back to shore after a long day at sea. Life continues, just as it has for thousands of years. And Madagascar still stands alone in the ocean, a world unto itself. A singular chapter in the history of our planet. A place that reminds us that sometimes the greatest wonders are not found on distant worlds. They are right here on Earth, waiting to be discovered. If you enjoyed this journey through one of the planet's most extraordinary destinations, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and join us on future adventures. Because beyond the horizon, there are still countless incredible stories waiting to be told.